Ahoy my hearties, welcome back to part 3, sailing single-handed Suffolk to Amsterdam. My name's Sam and this is my Nichols on 32 stowaway. In the first part we head across the North Sea to IJmuiden, checked in with customs, and in part 2 proceeded up the North Sea Canal to Amsterdam Marina, where we spent a couple of days mooching about, having a look at all the sights, the smells, the cheese, the stroop waffles, the Heineken, etc. So yeah, and now we're returning back to the UK in this part. I hope you enjoy it and give us a thumbs up if you do. Cheers. So it was a pretty murky start by all accounts. Plenty of rain overnight, so I had all my wet weather gill stuff on just in case. But yeah, I needed to make tracks up to IJmuiden. The customs were not available to visit me, so I had to go and find their building, which I had absolutely no idea where it was at all.
So we've got a bit of a headwind coming up this section of the North Sea Canal. The shipping around here, it's kind of like, it just comes out of nowhere. If you look behind you, it's not always coming from up the river. Sometimes they come out of like these little other canals. There's loads of them, like fuel berths and all that sort of stuff. So there's one just ahead of me now. He's just come out really fast actually. It didn't even look like he could slow down if he had to, but
so things did brighten up a bit in the end. It was 3 hours from Amsterdam to IJmuiden, the industrious piece of water, this North Sea Canal. So lots of roll-on, roll-off ferries and shipping containers. Some of the ships, by the way, that come down this canal are humongous. Come in through one of the bigger locks at IJmuiden and head towards their various bays.
So I've just called the Zuidersluis lock to confirm where I can go to more, and there's a sort of pier, a quay side on the south side just before the sluice, and they've said just go in there and then call customs. So
if you're coming from Amsterdam, the easiest way to go and find customs, or moor your boat to go and find customs, is by coming alongside this concrete quay jetty just before the Zuidersluis. If you go a little bit further along, the mooring posts are sort of a little bit closer, so you can moor a smaller boat there.
So I'm off to find the customs office. Apparently it's on the west side of the Zuidersluis. Such a ball ache. Okay, so it's not in the main DFDS terminal, it's another entrance, just been told. Okay, so that was the immigration office. Finally got my passport stamped. About to get run over. I'm really surprised that this service isn't automated somehow yet. Seems a lot of work for someone to sit there looking at my passport and stamping it, and even more work for me to have to try and find them and all that carry on.
So I had my passport stamped. There was no additional paperwork for leaving the Netherlands that I'm aware of. They're just the online filing for my arrival to the UK with UK Border Force, easy enough done, and then it was into the Zuidersluis. Now something interesting happened here, and I'm not 100% sure what happened, but after securing my midship line, the bow sort of buried itself into the lock side, which I kind of expected, but then it stayed there, it didn't come away from it. Now I don't know whether that was because my prop was spinning slightly, or whether there was some current coming into the lock as they maybe filled it. I'm not sure. The only way I got around that was bringing the stern line to where I'd made off with the midship line, and then just pull the back end in, and she straightened up nice.
Oh my word, what a workout.
So we left the Zuidersluis just after midday local time, and made directly out to sea again. The outer harbour at IJmuiden's big enough to hoist you a mainsail from inside, so I made use of the sort of calmer waters inside that before heading out. So just to the wind direction and the sort of swell area, I kind of did a bit of a zigzag coming out, but trying to remain outside the main shipping lane, which obviously was being used quite a lot. Even at slack water, it just seemed like there was quite a lot of swell, even when there wasn't much tide running across it. But yeah, it was starting to flood, so there was a bit of chop, to be honest. So yeah, I kind of, in the end, once I'd cleared the knoll, I'd kind of just tacked and then let the tide just do its thing to carry me away from the entrance as sort of quick as possible. I didn't want to get in the way of any of the shipping traffic.
Well, that's us just departing IJmuiden now. Just leaving the just the stronger belt of tide that runs around it. It's yeah, it's definitely one to be aware of. I'm almost just after slack water, so it wasn't that bad today. But yeah, interesting entrance. So I'm now just trying to make myself sort of as good a direction as I'm supposed to as possible. At the minute I'm just slightly sort of more northwest of my track, out of here. A bit of a slog, to be honest. Just trying to make as much of the route as I can. With this wind farm that we're just coming down the side of is kind of blocking our wind or shifting our wind and doing all sorts of weird things. Okay, so about 10:30 local time, 9:30 British time. I'm just crossing the first TSS, small one. I've now cleared this horrible wind farm, but now the wind has died and I am under engine. Using diesel, which I don't have a great deal of. I've got enough to do probably another 12 hours of motoring, but yeah, I am looking forward to some wind, which is forecast, so hopefully we're not going to be using too much more of that. I have just eased back the engine slightly, the revs, just to conserve a bit of the old oil. But yeah, it's a lovely evening out here. Really, really nice. Just got some of the wind farm lights just coming on now, and some of these oil platforms that are dotted around offshore. And yeah, it's all very, very nice indeed. At this moment in time, I'm thinking with the wind strength and direction forecast, it might be worth me heading for Lowestoft instead, and waiting for a more favourable wind, because I'll be here all bloody week trying to get to Harwich. But we'll see. If this evening wind turns up as it's meant to, and I think it's starting to now, I hope. We'll see how we get on, and if it's still not making much progress, then I shall probably make a course change around sort of early part of the morning and head towards Lowestoft. So it's just favourable for the wind direction. I can get some more fuel and then decide where I'm going to go from there. That one was too close. Just had to call him up on the radio. And there's another one. That one's a big one. Called him on the radio, and he said he had me, and he's going to let me pass out in front. So he slowed down a little bit. Had a really lovely breeze all night, churned down the miles nicely, which was a little bit unexpected, to be honest. I'm really hoping that it holds up long enough to make some way over to the UK side. That would be absolutely fantastic. Considering the amount of shipping traffic there is sort of at the minute in this area, I've been quite lucky. I've only had to sort of take evasive action, I suppose you could call it, twice, but there are literally ships everywhere. It's absolutely mental. I seriously don't know how we did these passages before AAS. There must have been quite a few rundowns, to be fair. So the camera is currently mounted on the tiller. It's my new camera mounting point. It's a beautiful morning. Just had a coffee, and I've actually had quite a lot of sleep. And when I mean quite a lot, I mean probably a good 5 to 6 20-minuters, like where I've been absolutely flat out, and it's been perfect. So I feel actually really bright this morning. We are currently running parallel on the border, on the British Netherlands border. There's a TSS on one side of us and a TSS on the other, and I'm keen to stay out of the one on the west side, the one that I've got to cross to head to the UK. With the tide as it's set at the minute, it'll take me across that shipping lane and straight into a wind farm, which is sat right on the edge on the other side, which once there would be quite difficult to kind of traverse. The other thing I'm trying to do is keep with the wind. The further I head towards the coast, I think I'm heading into a lull, as read in the forecast. So at the minute it's a bit of a balancing act of sort of maintaining wind and staying out of shipping lanes with respect to the tide. In about 2.5 hours the tide is going to start to fall off, and in about 3 to 4 hours the tide will change to flood back into the North Sea, and that is basically my green light to make a crossing of that TSS. So the tide's going to take me down and head towards
feel it today. That's what my plan is at the minute. I'm fingers crossed, toes crossed that this wind holds up. So I'm hand steering as best to windward as possible. It's very light at the minute and I'm just about covering 3 knots through the water. I'm waiting for the tide to change to put me in a better position to cross this TSS lane that I've been trying to cross all morning. It's now 11 o'clock and I'm doing this in very light airs, jester style, just as it is. And it's a bit painful because there's lots of shipping lanes everywhere, there's lots of ships everywhere, and there's lots of tide as well, so it is quite a mission. But we are going, probably not quite in the direction that I'd like to, but we are very slowly eating the miles, and hopefully in the next hour or two we should start to eat those miles a little bit more because of the tide change. ETA, absolutely no clue whatsoever. Kind of hoping that on the next flood, which will be in another 12 hours, 12 to 14 hours, I should be in a better position to take that into the Orwell. But that is if the wind increases. I don't think that would happen given this kind of situation, but it definitely still will be sometime Sunday. Okay, so I've just entered the TSS, the shipping lane. The wind has picked up a little bit, just enough to sort of get across at about 4 knots, which is good with the tide. And yeah, ETA across the other side is about in an hour and a half. So just got to keep a really good eye for shipping traffic. There is just one vessel just went up ahead, and he's passing to the south now. A lot's going on all of a sudden. We've got this vessel just ahead of us now, this bulk carrier. I'm in the middle of the deep water channel. We've also got this SFT Turkey, the container ship. This is probably my biggest concern because my CPA, my closest point of approach, is something like 0.1, 0.2 of a nautical mile at the minute, which is a bit too close. Yeah, and this has all happened within the last 20 minutes, so all of a sudden I start seeing targets on my AES tracker coming thick and fast out of nowhere, seemingly, and all of a sudden you're here right in the middle of it. Fun and games. So this is SFT Turkey. Was bearing down on me a little while ago and gave him a call. We had about 10 minutes before he was, well, it was reading 0 on my CPA, so who knows what would happen. Excuse my tiller pilot, needs a bit of oil. Something that really grinds my gears to bits. Message inside it. Sometimes these balloons, they have like messages on, or hang on, there's something on this one. Love, Ken. Fair enough. No message. Just some more stuff for Seal to get his head wrapped round. about that. That looks quite low to me. It was reading about 80 a little while ago, now it's 75. Let's have a look. That's better. It's a bit low vibration at the minute, so the engine is moving a little bit more than normal. Stella line, the Hollandica. So it's now 4:30 and we're not far off from where this forecast wind was coming in from. Due to increase from 5 o'clock onwards, and I'm fingers and toes crossed that it will be, because I've sort of been ticking over just keeping the boat going through the water. I'm actually thinking, while I'm still away from the sandbanks of along the coast, I'm thinking about just switching the engine off and floating around until some wind does arrive. I would prefer to just stay further offshore and where the tide is less fierce. And if I go out that way, that's fair enough. But it's so frustrating. I mean, this lull has been going on for about 3 hours now. It's unbelievable. Well, we've got some breeze. This could be the going home breeze. I don't want to talk it up too much, but it's nice and stable. We've got some clouds dotting around and making a good 5 knots with the engine. I'm hoping it's going to increase slightly. I can turn the engine off. More rubbish! Oh no, let me down, telepilot. I'm not going to get that, am I? Definitely not losing my wind speed. Don't do it, people. Keep hold of your balloons. And on tonight's menu, un egg. Did you like the way I crack them? You. Oh, look at this. You can tell I used to work in a caf. I told you to do fried egg. You're frying, it's just silly. Come on, come on. Okay, so it's nearly 11 o'clock. It's now dark. Second night, and we are about 6 miles. Get rid of that. 6 miles to the east of Sizewell. The tide has taken us up here. We've essentially come across the North Sea and ended up, well, I had no wind earlier on, so the tide basically took me up here, and I kind of motored up here because I could make more heading into land with the tide and a little bit of engine than just motoring against it and getting to here and then finding that I'd use all my fuel. So I've ended up here, still got quite a bit of fuel remaining, although not as much as I'd like. But now we've picked up some wind, and all the time I've been looking for these forecast pockets of wind dotted around the coast. There was meant to be a southwesterly come up earlier this evening, that didn't happen. Then there was meant to be is it something off the land, that hasn't really happened, although we have got something now, but I'm not sure how long that's going to last. So we're kind of like here, and the tide has now just started to flood, and I've set a course to run quite close in and get as much of the tide as possible, and hopefully some
some breeze. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Early morning coffee! At least I didn't run out of gas. This time. We've just been sailing down the Suffolk coastline after being carried northwards to Southwold by the tide. Now we've got the tide with us and some wind as well, which is great. We're heading quite quickly towards Felixstowe, just approaching the Cutler Bank now and the Woodbridge Haven Safe Water Buoy. And a fantastic moon tonight, really bright, and can see pretty much everything on the water. But I've still got my flashlight for the lobster pots, just in case.